Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and how can you not be after what has been the best major of the season by a country mile? The storylines were not quite as I expected them to be, but still spectacular nonetheless. So much to discuss today. What an event. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's crack straight on with things. The passion and honesty from the fans today was immense as well. Here comes Crim7, way before the event even kicks off, getting the crowd ready to go. He had another couple of moments in the limelight today as well, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. But let's dive into the series, right? I mean, what a bunch of series we had. This was the first kind of a moment in the spotlight here today. Like, of course, we saw the boys come out. And Crim6 was, interestingly enough, nowhere to be seen. Of course, Blaze is kind of asking the question. I thought Blaze did a great job hosting the event as well on the stage there. Why don't we go Crim6 friends? And, of course, I mean, look at the crowd, man. Honestly, this is just so entertaining all across the board. This was the series that they needed to win, right? I predicted that maybe Thieves would win this one, and it was New York who'd make the losers bracket run back to the finals. Turns out it was the other way around. But, I mean, honestly, this is such a good moment about when the lights go out, or like, and then, you know, Crim6 walked onto the stage, the spotlight comes through, the Undertaker music is playing, and what a series he had right here as well after appearing on the main stage. So yeah, absolutely spectacular stuff. The crowd loved it. Like, the personality on this guy and what New York actually did to make the most of it this weekend was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, just the way the team was making this work. Crim6 goes through, knows they need to win this series realistically if they want to make it all the way through to the World Championship. And game one, look at this, right, down 112 to 41. New York, not the greatest start at all. X was 5 in 14. But then out of nowhere, they flip a switch and destroy Thieves the remainder of this game. They win this one 250-176. They outscored them massively on the second set of rotations. Kismet finishes 37 in 26. Yes, X is negative, but Crim did say after the game the fact that Paul had just so many assists. Like, the KD might not look like it, but he was having his impact. But the MVP of this series by a country mile was Kismet, right? This guy was ridiculous. Game one was a great example. The Bulldog certainly does have that dog in him, man. I mean, honestly, what a roster change this was bringing in Kismet. People talked about X of this team was a massive difference maker, which I certainly do agree with. But like, I think Crim6 especially gave Kismet a lot of credit for how he helped turn this team around. Like, when I was talking to him actually in an interview, just as this team made this roster change, he really felt like he could add a lot to this lineup, and he certainly has, right? Honestly, like, the plays he makes, not just what he's done for the team, but the plays he makes individually are just spectacular. Like, he's such a fun player to watch, especially in the critical moments, and he seems to just have crazy amounts of ice, especially in this series. This is the search and destroy then, down at 1-0 Los Angeles Thieves, needed to bounce back. X clutched a nice little 1v2, and that wasn't the only crazy clutch of the game, right? Paco made some nice plays as well, that being Hydra, to give them an advantage, and then they close it out with, I mean, look, X clutched a nice little 1v1 here. I mean, yeah, the QR code on the wall is kind of a suspect one at times, but I mean, yeah, it was X, Hydra really turned up in this surge, but Kismet really turned up when it mattered as well. They do dominate the control Los Angeles Thieves to force it to a game 4. It was getting a bit sketchy at this point for New York subliners, but look, I was really hoping that New York would win this series, or even though I said earlier today maybe I thought Thieves would win this one game 5 or something, I was just so happy that New York won because they deserve the World Championship. The adversity they faced, not just because they've had to come back from only getting 70 points in the first 3 stages and now getting at least 90 this stage alone after this series victory, but every other team, it seems, has been conspiring against them, right? The amount of series that went game 5 that didn't go New York's way, with teams around New York in the standings getting wins against top teams that you wouldn't expect them to get, and New York don't care about that. They come to the tourney anyway, needing to place top 2 and do exactly that when the pressure's on. Like, what a performance, man. Like, you've got to give credit not just to Crim and the team, but also to the organization in general and the management staff. Like, I think Drazah deserves an awful lot of credit. It was announced maybe a couple of months ago now that Revan was no longer going to be the head coach of this team, and Drazah was going to take over that role. And since then, this team has come on leaps and bounds, right? So I think it's not just the players itself in Crim6's system and Kismet individually and Paul and Hydra that deserve credit, but also the coaching team behind them and what Drazah has done for the squad, because he's had a long-lasting relationship with Hydra and has seemed to help get the best out of this team recently. It's honestly incredible, the turnaround that they have made. And when the clutch needed to come through, they deliver the goods, right? And Kismet had one of the all-time best ever maps here on the final map of this series. 250-235. This is only a brief glimpse of what Kismet was doing this map. I mean, look at this 3-piece. That just sums up his performance this map. He was 41 in 30, 71 engagements on this game 4, far more than anyone in the lobby and anyone on his own team. He had 4,500 damage, 2 minutes in the hardpoint with an SMG. Like, this is one of the all-time greatest SMG performance, I think, over the course course of a single map, and I don't really think that's an exaggeration, to be perfectly honest, because he was just indomitable this particular series, and it was the critical one, and that meaning that Crimsix and Scump 10 straight years of going to the World Championship. It's so good that Crimsix is there, because this team is like definitely deserves to be there, right? They're easily a championship contender the way they're currently playing. I didn't want Florida to be there, right, based on the way they've made their decision the last couple of months or so, and look, it's on New York now to potentially complete what could be the craziest story ever, but already the story is absolutely spectacular just making it. And look at this right from New York. The subliner's hardpoint transformation for the start of the year to now went from 0% for a very long period of time to honestly just skyrocketing throughout the remainder of the season. And even Crimsix said that Crim 7, he's going to pay for his flights out to the World Championship to make sure he's there as well. So thought this is honestly fantastic all around. And yeah, the Bulldog Kismet, he was the one making the plays. That game 4 was just absurd. Look at this stat line, 41 in 30, 26 untraded kills, 4,500 damage, 2 minutes in the hardpoints. Like, that's just absurd on an SMG. And Florida Mutineers season is officially over. They are done and dusted. And yes, well, here we go. These are the top 8 as they stand. This is before the grand finals. We'll look at the champs bracket tomorrow, because as before the grand finals, this is still yet to be confirmed. But New York versus FaZe will be a round 1 matchup at the World Championship. Number 1 seed versus the number 8 seed. That is how it is going to go. Crimsix thinks they can go even further than this, right, in terms of the World Championship going forward. Make the greatest story ever told in esports. That's his step 3. Step 1 and 2 have officially been done and dusted at this point. Kismet, Hydra, they took over. Crim individually might not have dropped the numbers, but it doesn't matter when you're Crimsix and delivering the goods for this team. Let's talk FaZe OpTic, right? Again, interesting decision here from OpTic to go to a Bacage. This really does show to me that probably their Berlin, they're just not at all confident in. Like, it seems to me that if they're really going for Bacage, like, so questionable from my perspective, because FaZe are very good at this map. If you're going to chow them from OpTic's perspective here, you can't think you've got more than, what, 30% chance of winning? Like, I mean, yeah, I think that they just have done this probably because they just feel their Berlin is terrible. But the thing is, FaZe aren't that good on Berlin. I really don't understand the decision here from OpTic, just because I think challenging FaZe on Berlin was their best bet to win this game 1, because playing OpTic or playing FaZe on Bacage with the way OpTic are currently playing this map and barely getting their hard points, like, it's very rarely going to work out. I feel like they just gave FaZe a free 1-0 advantage here, to be honest, but it's not really their Bacage necessarily the struggles that are costing them. It's the fact that they don't seem confident at all playing Berlin, and therefore, like, they just don't have that in their map pool, and therefore when they play teams like FaZe, they've got to play them on Bacage and lose. So definitely a big concern for OpTic. The positive part of it is that their Search and Destroy looked very good this tournament. They win this one again here up against that FaZe. Like, yeah, it's difficult to beat FaZe in Search and Destroy in general. They did that right here in the game 2. Looked very good in this game mode all tournament, actually. Very clinical, rather stage 1-esque in a way, but still, their control didn't seem to work. Like, I mean, look, they tried their best on some of these offenses, but this round especially, this was the key moment for me. 2-2, 16-13 in OpTic's favour. If Scump doesn't do what he does and gets in the points, like, okay, maybe it doesn't win them the round, but the issue is that they only get 1 tick here. From this situation, with effectively 4 dead on FaZe, they only secure 1 tick on B. If Scump gets in the point, or maybe makes a different play, like, they'll probably get 2 ticks there, and then they put themselves in prime position to potentially close out this map. They only get 1 tick, they all go down, and they eventually lose the round 5 here to go to a Tuscan hardpoint, where, I mean, look, FaZe just turned up here, and in fairness, this is a very rare occasion so far this season in a critical series that aBeZy on LAN has come up absolutely massive. aBeZy was completely frying, and when he does that, they're of course going to be a very difficult team to beat. But OpTic, it did seem like the momentum of that game 3 didn't work in their favour. They lose in 4, losing to FaZe for the first time this season. FaZe halt OpTic Texas's run and progress in the tournament, right? And 2 key things really for OpTic to think about, right? Yes, the Bacage hardpoint was pretty bad this tournament, only won it once up against Toronto, I believe, but really it's their Berlin they've got to think about to actually bring that back into their map pool, because if they don't have that, I can't see them making a run at the World Championship. But their search was good, an impressive run, it must be said, from, well, top 12 all the way to top 4, better than I expected them to do, frankly, this tournament. But losing that record over FaZe, I'm pretty sure is going to sting as well, and on an individual level, Scump nearly had a pretty hard time here, despite Shotzzy turning up. That's the thing, like, the idea is that when Shotzzy turns up, this team is pretty much very difficult to stop, but this series, it was a rather different story. That's it, so our losers final then between FaZe and Los Angeles Thieves. FaZe came out swinging in the game 1 Tuscan hardpoint. That's kind of expected really when you've just won a critical series on Tuscan hardpoint, to then play it again at like 15 minutes later, you're probably going to win that map again. They clutch up towards the end of this game, but once again, right in the Search and Destroys, FaZe not looking so good. Thieves clutched, well, Octane clutched a 1 versus 1, round 11 here against Cellium. Cell almost got this 1v3, Drazah was sitting in a corner, gets wallbanged straight through it, and Octane ends up clutching the 1v1 to just close out this round, a critical one at that, to actually try and close out this series. Octane wins the gunfight. And then for the rest of the series, it was the Kenny show. We talked before this tournament the fact that Kenny, like, okay, on the SMG, what had he really done up against the Atlanta FaZe guys? Like, Thieves hadn't beaten FaZe in 2 years up until this point, and this weekend they beat them twice. And Kenny, man, like, we talked about it this season, can Kenny run a sub? Is he the the actual right fit for this system. I was thinking personally that despite rating Kenny very highly for many years and thinking he's one of the most exciting players and one of the best players to watch when he's on, I was wondering, look, is it about time that Kenny moves to a different system? Is this team really going to work for him? Is he going to work on the SMG? Many questions are being raised, and I feel like understandably so, given his and the team's form. But he turned up monstrously this series. Looking like TK World War II Kenny here on this control, and did the same thing again on the hardpoint as well after they win that one. I mean, Kenny was clutching up here. Beating FaZe 3-0 on Tuscan control is so hard to do, and Thieves do it. They take it to a final map of the series as well. Kenny's 30-14. aBeZy has a stinker on the game 3, and then it's Simp who has a stinker on the game 4, as Kenny again goes off 34-24. Simp goes double negative, and like honestly, what a performance from Kenny individually, right? I think this guy has been the key turnaround factor really for this Thieves team when they're playing well, because we know that Drazah and Octane have been doing it for quite some weeks on the FaZe side. They've been looking good. Envoy, Kenny though turning up as the way they did. I think Kenny especially on a consistent basis has made this team a championship contender. Credit to the whole organisation sticking by this roster and believing in the potential of Kenny to actually make this happen. And it really is great to see this organisation finally competing for championships. That's why I've been so harsh on them, because we know that it should be there within the potential of this organisation and the resources and the players that they have. On the FaZe side though, after coming top 2 3 tourneys in a row, they've now placed top 3. OpTic for the first time don't even make the final for the first time, right? The FaZe guys, I'm sure, are very frustrated. Yes, they might win the World Championship, but if they don't win anything this year, that's not going to be particularly good for their legacy. Final series stats are like this. Drazah definitely deserves a hell of a lot of credit as well. He was cutting off rotations like a madman, and both tiny terrors in the 0.8 range. That's not something you expect to see every day. And here we go then with the Grand Finals. What a tournament this was, of course, leading up to this point, and I was really hoping the Grand Finals would deliver. I was hoping we didn't get a blowout here in the finals, because it could have happened. It could have marred the tournament to some degree, but a great walkout here once again for New York. I guess at this point they were kind of running out of ideas, but they still get something pretty good done. And look, let's just crack right on with it. Game 1, this was where the Bulldog, especially Hydra, they were all turning up. Los Angeles Thieves seemed kind of shell-shocked off the rip, like 41-34 for Kismet right here, 2 minutes in the hill, 4k damage. Like, who's surprised at this point? This guy was demolishing kids. And then we go to a game 2, a similar story comes through again. Kismet was dominating, like, I mean, this nice little 1v2. This spot, in fairness, has been known for quite some time, but still, taking down Envoy in this way, winning the 1v2 was very nice for New York. Going up a quick 2-0 advantage, generally helped actually by this one from Hydra, where he clutches an impossible 1 versus 2, kills Envoy, snakes the hell out of the bomb here. Kenny must have been fuming about this one, but you can't really blame Hydra given the situation. Takes down Kenny, nice 1v2, and then it's Kismet who clutches up in the final round. Octane was hitting some disgusting shots right here. This one especially, gets the first kill, gets the second kill. This snap actually here onto Crimsix was ridiculous, but Kismet left in a 1v2 situation. At this point in the series, he was going to clutch up no problem at all. Takes Octane off the bomb. He was actually going to wait longer, which would have been a smart play, but he felt like Octane saw him, so decided to kill him, and then just destroys Envoy anyway and takes the gunfight. So a 2-0 advantage. At this point, it really did look like New York were going to close out the series without too much difficulty, but then all of a sudden Thieves came back into it, and from my perspective, the control really is where New York let this series slip. If they were better in control here, they would have probably won this series, but they lose this in honestly dominant fashion, right? It was just really one offense that Thieves won, like the very first round actually, I'm pretty sure, of this game. They win the third round as well, but like just that one offense seemed to spark them into life, right? And with New York, it did seem like as the series progressed, their star players kind of slowed down, and with Thieves, they were all there or thereabouts, right? Kenny like had so many impact moments, but as in fairness did the entire team, and it felt like it was kind of destined to happen after they started to win a couple of these maps. This one especially, they then win the game 4 as well, and like they take it to a Bacage search and destroy, and this was arguably the most controversial moment of the series, because as you can see with Envoy right here, he hops him into top bedroom or whatever it's called here on Bacage, tries to shoot the guy, and doesn't happen. Paulek struggles with the kill anyway, but this is a glitch that's been around in the game, I believe since February, I guess since the start of the year really, where if you climb up a ladder or like mental something, you can sometimes with the pistol out get this happening where you just can't shoot. You try your best, but you know, your hand comes out like your Darth Vader as methods described right here, so that's a crazy situation. That obviously should never be the case. Nadeshot was not happy about this at all. I'm sure we'll talk about this in more detail in the coming days. Doesn't end up costing them, but like they could have won this round. This probably cost them the win of this particular map, but in fairness, they regain, go to a Gavutu control, and the CDL, in fairness, the only real thing that held this event short, and I think it's only a minor thing really, because there were no real delays, but there were audio issues, tech problems, production issues in general. Not sure what happened there, because the Gavutu control for some reason just went blank and it said the action will resume shortly. But eventually we actually do get to watch the Gavutu control, and it is a Los Angeles Thieves classic. Kenny goes massive here on the spawn, gets a couple of kills, Hydra does his best, but it's Kenny, Drazah making plays as they were all tournament long. Envoy and Octane were also great, don't get me wrong, but I think it was Kenny and Drazah really with the impact generally when it mattered. And yeah, they win a huge offense here, difficult to do on Gavutu. They get the job done, and this to me felt like the beginning of the end for New York. Their star players did begin to slow down. It goes here to a Berlin search and destroy destroy, and it was just a demolition job from Los Angeles Thieves. So yes, New York, probably the momentum slowed a little bit, kind of surprised already in front of the home crowd, but yeah, they couldn't really catch fire. Crim6's finals record takes a little bit of a hit, because generally in finals he's been unbelievable, but still, I'm pretty sure Crim now has made a finals, like in official events, because whether you count the Prime Classic or not, I personally do, but whether you don't, Crim has now still officially made a finals in every single season he's ever competed in, right, which still is a remarkable record, but yeah, couldn't really rally the troops at the end of this series, and it just felt like Thieves were all cylinders firing. They win the game 7, they win the game 8 as well. A phenomenal series as it finished off here on the Tuscan hardpoint, and it's just so good to see Los Angeles Thieves as an organization back on top. Credit to these guys, all the organization, the staffing behind this team, because they stuck together. They didn't like listen to any of the criticism that they should change stuff around. They tried to change roles. It didn't look like it was going to work. They think it's going to work anyway. Octane back on top, Kenny back on top for the first time in what, 3 years since 100 Thieves won at CWL Anaheim 2019. Thieves as an organization back on top of Call of Duty. It has been a long time coming. They should have been there for a long time. They made this organization last season. It was woeful. This year was starting on a similar trend, but they've stuck with it. They've turned it around. They've defeated New York in front of their home crowd, and they of course become the 6th event winner in 6 events going into the World Championship, right? So unbelievable storylines. Congratulations to Thieves. And congrats to Nation as well. So many just great storylines coming out of this weekend, and what an event it was. And as we finish out the video, let's look at the statistics right here. Kenny, 153 kills in the finals, 1.15 KD, most damage in the entire lobby. Everyone on the New York side negative, but I mean, yeah, you can have your pick of the bunch here as to who you want to give MVP to. I don't know how many topics we're going to have to stuff into the videos over the coming days, but it's going to be a lot. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.